do we need interfaces and this kind of thing? So I thought that was worth bringing this here so we can discuss it. And yeah, so all of this content is AI generated. Uh, I asked it to give me like some core topics that we can discuss and talk about, and I think that's enough for us today because what we really want here is like uh, practice our English, and So yeah, I have a few topics here. What else? So I think that we can start like by asking here: Is any of you guys the first time? Are you a first timer here on the English meeting?
Hello everyone. So my fifth or sixth time here. So I'm feeling the improvement through the classes, through the between. It's not classes, but we we improve a lot and with the conversation. So it's very enjoyable.
Yeah, and that's the main point here. Make you feel comfortable, like talking in English. And this is really something that I enjoy in this Jug, in this Java user group, because we have the opportunity to talk in English, discuss topics that are relevant for our job and everything. And it's not, I always keep saying, Renato, that this like we pay for that. We pay for like getting to a conversation in a meeting and talking in English with a lot of people, right? And this is free and every Thursday, so it's like really amazing.
Maravilha.
So yeah, thanks Lorenzo for sharing it with us. Um, yeah, so for start, uh, I would like to ask you guys what it's I won't ask like about interfaces itself. I want to ask you about APIs. So um, if any of you guys want to share, what do you understand when we say like APIs? What are your thoughts on that? Any of you guys?
I guess the first thing that comes to mind is like delivery data from the back end to the front end. It's the simplest way I can put in into words, and the first thing that comes to my mind.
That's not wrong. That's not wrong. Any other thoughts on that? Vinicius, Jair?
Okay. An application interface is something like you have to implement on your class to have the same action that it proposes. So I think that's it when we are talking about interfaces. An API is a huge concept, is a bigger concept, but I think follows the same rules.
Any other thoughts? Different thoughts? All right. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Go
I
ahead.
know. To be honest, API is a very huge concept, so we can use it not just with delivering data, but we can call it like a interface, so we can communicate with two applications between this interface. So it's a way to communicate two or more applications.
Nice. Yep, it's another definition. And all of them are right, but still, like, yeah, because this is like a broader topic, right? Like, what is an API? So, by definition, like the acronym API, we say it's like application programming interface, right? So, if we try to understand like the meaning of it, so it's like an interface that allows like applications that were programmed to do something, to interface with something, right? So now I want to go one step back and talk about the actual like interface. What is an interface, right? And your explanations are pretty good, pretty good. I just wanted to bring the Wikipedia definition of it. So, are you seeing my screen? I think you are, right?
I can see it.
So, yep. All right. So, like in computing, all right. So let me ask you
Not
some
the
more.
Wikipedia page.
Oh, you aren't seeing my
Yeah, I
Wikipedia
can
page?
I
see.
know it's from Renato
All right. So probably
in
I'm
Spanish.
sharing it wrongly. Let me so full screen here. Okay. Let's see. Now it's all right. So now you're
Can
able
see
to
it
see,
now.
right?
Yeah,
All right. So I don't know, someone that didn't say anything. Jair, you wanna read for us this definition of interface here?
In computing, an interface is a shared boundary across which two or more separate components of a computer system exchange information. The exchange can be between
We can hear you,
software.
Jair.
Sorry,
Oh,
Vinny.
I'm sorry.
What
I'm
was that?
sorry.
No, we can
You
hear
do
you,
you hear
We
Jair.
can
me?
hear you, Jair.
Okay, it's good. My
Yeah,
microphone.
yeah.
Okay. The
Vinny,
exchange.
are you hearing him? Can you
You
hear
hear
him?
me?
No,
No,
I can't.
Vinny,
Oh,
you can't hear. Sorry, you can't hear Jair.
Yeah, I can. I think he was muted, but
I can't too. I can't.
oh, and now do you hear me well?
yeah,
Is it okay?
perfectly.
Nice.
So, okay,
All right.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
restart. Okay.
Start over.
Please, can you give a zoom up, please?
Oh, sure, sure,
Zoom
sure.
in because it's very tiny the
Yeah.
letters. Okay,
Is it better?
uh, better. Thank you. In computing, an interface is a shared boundary across which two or more separate components of a computer system exchange information. The exchange can be between software, computer hardware, peripheral devices, humans, and combinations of these. Some computer hardware devices, such as touchscreen, can both send and receive data through the interface, while others, such as a mouse or microphone, may only provide an interface to send data to a given system. Is it okay?
Yeah, that's great. So, when we are talking about interfaces, so from what we discussed already, it seems that APIs, application programming interfaces, are one kind of interface, right? And that's and I really wanted to bring this topic here because this like messed up with my head for a long time when I was like starting. It's like, what's the interface? Why do we use them? What are like the boundaries of an interface and everything? So from the description here, it seems that it actually holds a lot of meaning, right? So it's like it's really a broad topic. It's kind of abstract. There's a lot of things involved in it. So APIs. What are APIs here? Like you say, it's a way. I think it was João Gabriel that said it's a way of like transmitting data between the front end and back end. right? So it does make sense. But why? Why does it make sense? Because we have been taught that like the last years you have been working or you just started working. So everyone says, "Hey, what's the API? What's your API? I need to call it," right? So I want to discuss it in a broader level. In like, okay, when he referred to like bringing data from the front end to the back, from the back end to the front end, he probably was talking about like endpoints, right? So endpoints, it's a way of transmitting data, but this is not the actual like definition of the interface itself, right? Like I feel that I don't know if you guys are feeling that too, but interface is like a way, the way something exposes something that can be reachable, right? So the front end wants to. Sorry, João, are you saying something? I think you were muted.
No, actually not. I'm not saying anything, mate.
Oh, all right. So yeah, HTTP endpoints are one kind of API, and um, what other what other uh, examples of interfaces comes to your minds right now? Like besides talking about like endpoints, backend endpoints, HTTP endpoints.
So,
The
um,
control, the remote control on the TV is a kind of interface too. So
Did you read
I
that
think
in some book?
no,
No,
I
because
don't.
actually there's a book called I think Designing Web APIs from the Manning publisher that actually uses this example.
So I didn't
Yeah.
have the opportunity to read yet, but I think I will. Like clean architecture, everything from in a context that interacts with another context, external context. So there might be an interface to facilitate the communication between the two boundaries.
Yeah, you know, I think the word to define it's abstraction, you know, because if you think in interface, all the kind of interfaces, even the remote or the an API, you know, or in some OOP language like Java, you know, uh, interface is just an abstraction. When you are talking about API, uh, the abstraction is the API itself because you just need to know the endpoint and how to communicate with the path like security token and just that you don't need to know nothing more than this, you know. And with and about classes, you just need to know the method. For instance, you don't need to know the behavior inside the method, you know. I think this is the word in my mind. I don't know
No,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
I'm right, you know,
it's
but
no, it's exactly the meaning,
uh,
and it's something that also confuses a lot of people. Like it's like an abstraction, but an abstraction of what, right? And what does it means an abstraction, right? Like what we want to abstract, right? Um, I feel that a simpler definition would be make it simpler to whoever wants to use what you are providing, right? In this book, I was telling Vinicius, there's another example for microwave, if I'm not mistaken, where like they designed microwave and the buttons were like turn on the heat infra generator, blah blah blah. And then you start to think, oh my god, what will happen when I press this button, right? And it just means turn on the microwave, right? So it's like abstracting all the complexity of what you are offering, what you are like providing a service or something, right? And yeah, it's a great definition. And it's really important to understand, like you were saying, that interfaces are not only the Java interfaces that we are used to, right? So yeah, I create an interface. It has signature methods, don't have any implementation. It has only the signature. Okay, this is an interface. But also having a remote control that have like play, stop, also is an interface. It's just another kind of, right? So like the description is saying here, is a shared boundary across two or more separate components. And the word components is really generic in the same way the interface is, right? So what is a component? It can be like one application to another. It can be a user, a person, to like a TV, a microwave, or it can be anything else. So that's why this messed it up with my head a lot, because I was like, why and everything. So yeah, I think that we got a bit of what is an interface and what is an API. So I think we can just start and go through these topics so you can read it and we can discuss it. So, what is an interface? Interface it is defined way two things interact. This I like it more. This definition: things, not components.
It's
Things,
even more generic.
anything, right? How do you? It's just you can, yeah. So okay, nice. And if you guys want to read this part here, I think it's important that we discuss these three topics here.
I can read, but you need to
Oh,
zoom in.
let me see if I can. I think it's
Oh, I think I can read, but yeah, we try.
um.
If you can't, you mean.
Let me see.
Maybe in VS Code, the Markdown extension, it's better suited for this kind of just to read. I guess the Control Plus shortcut will be working better.
All right. So if I
Uh, yep, just open a new text file, change the extension to Markdown,
new text file,
paste the Markdown from yeah. So you didn't need even to save it, but
React
whatever.
DMD. Then I copy these, throw it here.
Control Shift V, I guess the shortcut. It's already built in at VS Code.
Shift V.
Control Shift V.
Nice. Yeah.
Now let's check it if we can zoom in. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh,
All right. Is it
we better.
better? I can zoom in more if you want.
It's all right.
It's okay. All right.
So, so what's an interface? Overview. An interface is a defined way two things interact. It hides the implementation, exposes a contract. So the key ideas: contract. What's available? Inputs, outputs, behavior, implementation, how it's done, can change, clients, code services, tools, or people that use it. So questions to discuss. Why do we
Let me see. I think we can just stop here and discuss it first. So,
correct.
all right, so we have three key concepts here, like a contract, an implementation, and the clients. So you want to,
Yeah, I can share my ideas because, in my opinion, an interface is like the image you were sharing before. It's a way to connect something to another. So you just need to follow the contract. So like a port that you connect the cable, you are connecting to this interface following the contract. So if you have a HDMI HDMI port, you need to connect this type of cable. You can using the same logic as code as programming. We need to follow the contract to get back to retrieve the data to retrieve the information we want. So this is my overview for an interface and how we can use it in
as I
a
say, there
broad
are
way.
because so the first one was what? Each computer has a specific shape that you can plug in and plug out. But then, okay, we plugged or added HDMI cable. How do we send data, right? Like, how do we send and receive data if we plug it in like a TV or something? So imagine that you plug the HDMI in your computer and in the TV. How does the computer sends data to the TV, right? It doesn't know about HDMI, or like by the time you plugged it. What does it need? It need a driver,
It needs another protocol to communicate like the driver you're saying.
a specific protocol, and this specific protocol has a lot of rules that you must follow, which is another interface, right? It's
Yes.
another interface. So if you want to send data to the cable to your TV, you need to call like send data. And where does it come from? From the driver interface that allows you to send the data. And this driver interface probably has some method, probably in some low level language that the operating system knows that allows you to send data, right? So this is another layer. And now another layer on the top of it, it's not regarding like what method you should cover something, but what's the structure of the data you need to send, right? Because it's like, because in the end it's just bits, right? So zeros and ones. But how does it must be encoded so the cable can transfer it and who receives it can understand it? So it's a lot of like layers. And that's the same when we are talking about our applications, our Java applications, right? So an API is just an interface. We call it API because it's application programming interface. And this just have a meaning for us because we are programmers, right? And we know how to call it through a language like Java or Python or anything. That's why it's called API. In the same way, when we are talking about UI, what's UI? User interface. Because the user is like, and when we are talking about like web UI, it's just like a browser that has like HTML, la la la, and it displays like a pretty page for the user, and the user knows how to call an action, right? So That's what I think it's really important. Like seeing that interfaces have all these layers because when we were talking about UI, as soon as the user clicks on it, it the front end has like probably some JavaScript interfaces or something, and those access the implementation that calls an API, which is application programming interface, that then calls the backend, and the backend probably has some Java interfaces or something that will call the implementation and everything. So yeah, that's what I wanted to, make it explicit here that there are many levels of it. So yeah, I think we can go for the questions now. Anyone want to read one and say your thoughts on that? Anyone?
If no one wants, I could read.
All right.
So, why do we even bother defining interface? So the answer is to the couple, to test, to evolve parts independently, to let things work in parallel. So I think I don't have much to add on it, but let's go to the second question. So, are interfaces only technical? No, they aren't. Interfaces, like we were talking right now, they are a way to to communicate to boundaries. So, like the answer right here, no, teams and process can have interfaces too. And the third question, when is an interface overkill? Oh my god, overkill. When there is only one color, no need to swap, and complexity is low. So I don't have anything to add in this question, but I think you could add something, you all. It's mute if it's someone
Oh, sorry,
interfering.
Larissa. Yeah, I think we have a lot to add here because like this is like I'm feeling like in a philosophy class
Philosophical.
because I'm like because
Yeah, very much.
we have a lot. There are many ways of discussing this. So the first question, guys, do you want to start, Vinny, Jair?
So why do we need interfaces on our
Uh,
application? If we are getting data from the database, for example, your application, it will be more clear if we think about clean architecture or on your architecture, the these patterns use the interfaces a lot for communicate with other components in the software. So we can think about we have an interface to get data from the external component. Don't matter what is the component, but the interface wants data. I will send some, I don't know, some ID, and you bring some data for me. And no matter what the component, the external component, could be a database, a file, another system, an API. So if it implements the interface and follow the contracts, your what you need is being doing. So if
mm,
you implements, that's fine.
yeah, and this goes straight. It's really like what I was trying to say. Like it seems that interfaces are made for making easier for whoever is the client of your application, right? Because the client don't need to know what it's being done. It just needs to know the the main meaning of that interface. So, for example, in fact, this is another example from another book. I don't remember if it's that designing data intensive applications or something, where the example was like initially they were saving the data in files, so text files, because it was a simpler application. And the management asked for like a SQL database because it was like in the 90s or 2000s or something. So it was something new using SQL database. Not new, but they weren't using. They were just saving plain text files. So the idea is like if you have like and talking about like language level interfaces, right? So if you have like a method called save and you pass the object you want to save with like an ID, the text or anything, if behind the scenes it saves it in like a text file or in a SQL database or in a storage in some kind of cloud, you don't need to know. The client doesn't need to know. The client just wants to save the data. So that's really like I think the main principle that comes with like interfaces. The client doesn't need to know the complexity that is being done behind the scenes. If you are using like a driver to access a database that it's in another server, or if you are just saving it in like a file or something, right? So that just tells me that interfaces are really something important and
For
really good.
me, it's about security too.
Yeah, go ahead,
Because,
Simone. Sorry. Hmm.
yeah, for me, it's about security too. Because you are only going to send what you were asked for. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, probably you were talking about encapsulation, right? Because like all the things you don't want the client to know about, you don't
Yeah.
expose it. So it's the interface, it's all the client has visibility, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, another core point of it, not exposing what shouldn't be exposed. And this is really a common problem when we were talking about APIs, right? Sometimes we want to use like an endpoint for a front end that fetches the user orders. So you just expose like an endpoint slash order and then a parameter that asks that it's the order ID, right? So you send like slash orders, um, question
Question mark.
mark, order ID, two. Okay, your front end will do that. But if someone else, a programmer probably, has access to like the dev tools and see the actual endpoint that is getting called, he starts to think, what about if I change the order ID to order from other people's, right? So
Yeah.
you're
Talking about SQL injection too, right?
exactly. So you're exposing things that are security related, and it's like a security breach. So probably the interface you want to have is like just slash orders. If you are authenticated, you're passing your token, JAWT token, or any kind of authentication you have. In the backend, you can find the orders for that user and show it. You don't need to pass like the order ID or anything else, right? So this is the interface that the client is assessing. Yeah, it's great. Great. So yeah, the second question, I think Lorenz already answered. So yeah, no, there are lots of other interfaces that are not only technical, right? And if we're talking like in an abstract way, we can think about maybe agile frameworks like Scrum. So Scrum has these meetings, right? The daily meeting, the hetero, the planning. So these are meetings, right? And you have access. You see, like it's abstract. You have access to this meeting. So if you want to follow Scrum, you have to run this meeting. So the planning, the daily stand up, the retro, and everything. But how you do that doesn't matter. You just need to follow it, right? So imagine I worked in some companies that were totally different, right? The stand up for some companies were like a meeting with only the developers. So this is the implementation, how the meeting runs. Oh, only the developers get into the meeting. But the interface is like we need a daily stand up, right? So it's really like abstract. And for some other places, the daily meeting was like with the developers, the manager, the scrum master, and a lot of other people. So implementation and how it was done it was different, but we were following like the daily method, the daily interface. And when an interface is an overkill, this is a tricky one, right? Yeah, this is a tricky one.
We could talk about single responsibility principle here. I know it's controversial, but sometimes if we use like the single responsibility principle at the extreme, we are overkilling an interface because, of course, there are different ways to think about it, but sometimes we, instead of just writing a line of code, we go there and make this line of code a method. So this is a way to overkill an interface. I think I'm using the right meaning of the word. Like when we use excessively an interface, so sometimes we don't need to use it uh, the most. I don't know. I'm just
No, no, no.
bringing some
Yeah,
topics at the
and that's
table,
it. That's what I
At the
say.
first,
Like it's really broad and it's really related to the experience you had before. I think it's totally valid. And yeah, most of the time we do want to use interfaces, right? Even if we don't need, but if we think that we may need it in the future, it's a good approach. But sometimes we don't need it. For example, most of the time we do want, but like a raw example is like when we have um, notification service, right?